So now we are going to start talking about medical terminology. Medical terminology is the language, the terms that are related to the body that we use in the medical field, mainly when these terms are related to health and disease. The most commemorative names, we call them eponyms, and they have been placed by precise terms. So we have surface anatomy, that are the study of the structures near or on the body surface. We have what we call anatomical landmarks. One of the anatomical landmarks is the anatomical position. The correct anatomic position is when you are standing upright with your hands at the side of your body, your palms facing forward. The supine position is lying down on your back with the face up. And the pronation position is lying with your belly down, lying down, facing down. Here we have the anterior view because we are seeing the front of the body in the correct anatomical position. So the frontal plane refers to the forehead, as we see here. Let me make this. Okay, as we see here. Here in the frontal plane, we have the cranial region. Cranial refers to the cranium or the skull, and the facial, that refers to the face. All of these compose the cephalic or head. Cephalic because we have the encephalon, the brain inside. Nasal refers to the nose, ocular to the eye, orbital to the eyeball, otic refers to the ear, buccal to the cheek, and cervical to the neck because of the cervical vertebrae. Oral refers to the mouth and mental to the chin. Going a little bit lower, we have the trunk. The trunk is composed by the thoracic region, the thorax of the chest, the mammary or the breast, abdominal region, and the umbilical region. Here, looking in the appendices, we have the arms. The arms, they are located in the trunk. And here, when we say axillary, we are referring to the armpit. Brachial refers to the arm, the proximal portion. And antecubital is the front of the elbow, right here where you can bend your arm. Now we are still looking the interior view, but the lower body. Here we have still a portion of the trunk that's composed by the pelvic region or the pelvis. And we see our forearm is called antebrachial region. Carpal refers to the wrist and palmar to the palms of your hands. Pollex is the big thumb, and digits are all the other fingers. Here, the groin region is called inguinal. So babies, most of the time, they have inguinal hernias because they cry, and all the effort that's crying causes the soreness called inguinal hernia. Pelvic or pelvis femoral refers to the thigh. So in this course, we are not calling arm or forearm or thigh. We calling it brachial, antebrachial, or femoral. Here we have the patellar region, that's mobile, the kneecap. The crural refers to the leg, tarsal to the ankle, digit to the toes, hallux to the great toe, and pedal for the whole foot. In a posterior, because we are looking to the posterior, the back of the body, we have the cephalic region or the head, the cervical region or neck, the upper limb, the acromial, that's the shoulder, Dorsal is the back. Olecranial is the back of the elbow. In this first moment, you don't need to memorize everything, but you need to get familiar with those terms. We have the lumbar or loin. This is still part of the upper limb, and we have here from the pelvic to the toe, we have the lower limbic. And gluteal refers to your butt cheeks. Popliteal is the back of your knee. Sural is the back of your thigh or calf. And crural is the front or your leg. And calcaneal is the heel of the foot. Plantar is the flat, is the sole of your foot. So all these anatomical regions, they have subdivisions. And we are going to focus in the abdominal pelvic quadrants. So we have between abdomen and pelvis some quadrants. And we are going to focus on the name of those regions. And we have the abdominal pelvic regions. So quadrants and regions. And with this, we can give anatomical directions. There are directions that make reference to the terms based on this position of the subject. So if we divide the trunk in half in a sagittal, mid-sagittal plane, and then in this cross section, we are left with the left upper quadrant, right upper quadrant. We have the right lower quadrant and the left lower quadrant. These are the abdominal pelvic quadrants. So think about this comes from 4 divisions. And these are quadrants like south, north, east, and west. And the regions are the subdivisions of those quadrants. So here we have the epigastric region that's in the beginning of your stomach. Right in the middle, we have the umbilical region that's close to your belly button. Below your belly button, we have the hypogastric or pubic region. And we still have the left hypochondriac region that's right here under your right nipple. We have the left lumbar region that's more lateral, close to your pelvis. And below, close to the pelvic bones, we have the left inguinal region, that's a region close to the groin. And the same thing we have on the other side. Because generally the human body is symmetrical. So everything you have in one side, you have in the other side. So focus memorizing one side in the middle because the other is going to repeat. And here we have the location of some organs. These are the relationships. We can find the stomach in the hypogastric. And here in the umbilical, we have a huge portion of the large intestine. Other way, here we have the colon. Here we have the small intestine. Most of the small intestine is located in the pubic region. We have in the left, almost the left side, we have the urinary bladder. Well, it's right in the middle, but we can give some directions. Here in this hypogastric, we have the spleen. So here we have a scheme of the correct anatomical position. That's with your body upright, facing forward, your palms facing forward. This is the left side and this is the right side. I'm not gonna lie, left and right side when I'm looking pictures, I still confuse myself, so I need to put myself in the anatomical position so I can locate things properly. And we have the proximal. Proximal refers to the portions that are closer to the joints, mainly the joints that attach the appendices to the middle portion, to the axial skeleton. So here we have proximal because it's close to the joint that connects the appendices to the actual skeleton. We have medial because it's right in the midline. We have lateral. We have distal because it's farther from this joint. Here, the foot is distal when you compare to the hip bone, because here we have a joint that's proximal to the appendicular skeleton. We also have in the cranial or cephalic, that's the plane that's towards to the head, and we have caudal plane that's towards to the tailbone, that's more towards to the bottom of our body. And anterior is like in the frontal part of our body, and posterior is the back. So the anatomical terminology or the sectional anatomy, we use simple abbreviations for the names. So a section is just a slice or a three-dimensional object that we use to visualize the internal organization of the organs, and some techniques that we are going to see a lot to study anatomy and physiology are the MRIs, the PET scans, the CAT scans. So every time in anatomy I refer to a section, I refer a portion, a slice of an organ or an image that we are studying. In a sectional plane, we have a single view in two dimensions of a flat surface. We have the frontal or coronal plane. That's a vertical plane that divides the body in anterior and posterior. And if we cut in this frontal plane, we have a frontal section. Section is a cut or coronal section. The sectional plane, we have the sagittal plane that I told you before, that divides the body in left and right. So a cut right in the sagittal section divides the body in the line that is right in the middle of our body. That's called mid-sagittal plane. And when we cut in the parasagittal plane, we have a cut that divides the body still in left and right, but this is a little offset from the middle. So sagittal just means that I'm dividing body in left and right. But if I say that's mid-sagittal, is right in the middle. And if it's parasagittal, is other place that's not in the middle, but still is dividing the body in left and right. I also have the transverse plane that's going to divide the body into superior and inferior portions. And when we cut in this plane, we call this a transverse section or a cross section. Okay, and here we have some images. So here we have the frontal or coronal plane. I'm dividing my body in the frontal and the back, in the front and the back. So I see everything like that. I cut the brain, the lungs, and all the organs in the middle. But if I'm making a transverse, I'm separating the superior to the inferior. And here in blue, we have the mid-sagittal because divides the body in left and right, right in the middle. I'm going to stop this video here and I see you guys in the next one.